Hi Virgo, welcome to your May tarot reading. I know it's been a while since I've posted one of your videos in English, but here I am, and I'm super excited to make this video, especially with the energy of the full moon we're having right now in May. A full moon on the 7th and the 8th, depending from where you live, which part of the continent you live. And this moon is going to be in Scorpio. And Scorpio is the house that deals with endings. Is the house that helps us release the unwanted so that we can have a rebirth and, allow the new to come in. So I want to welcome all of you. I hope that you get to enjoy the messages that the tarot is giving you. I don't consider myself a fortune teller. I believe that we all create our own reality, so there is no fortune telling. We can always change and shift things around given that we have the right information. But I do believe that this is a tool that we can use to prepare us to what's to come, to help us know what are the energies that are affecting us right now in the present moment. Of course, this is a reading that is a general reading, Virgo, so it's not going to describe every situation out there. But here is where I suggest that take what you need and let this rest go. And if you feel that there's nothing that is being offered here to you, to go and search for the right person and the right information. In this particular reading, Virgo, I decided to use numerology, and it's not that I haven't used it before, it's just that in the way that I am choosing the cards are based on numerology. I feel that right now celestial bodies are behaving in a way that it's affecting us quite a bit. And one of the ways, because they always affect us, right? But one of the ways that I feel that is affecting us more right now is that things are changing so rapidly that sometimes changes can happen unexpected. And it's not that they don't occur, all the time, but, if you're not prepared, if you're not prepared for a change of direction in a situation that you were hoping to remain the same, it could be a problem because sometimes we can overreact. And it's not that it's wrong to overreact, Virgo. The problem is if you remain in that energy, in those emotions for long. And things are not going to get easier. Not only are we having this, unusual configurations, but we're also going towards the eclipse season, I should say. We're going to have in June 3 eclipses, 2 lunar and 1 solar. And this is going to accelerate things up. And if you are kind of unstable and confused and resistant and angry and all of that, well, that month is going to feel really shitty. So not only we're moving towards Gemini, this zodiac sign of Gemini, which speaks about duality, but we're having 3 eclipses, one in the beginning of the month, one in mid-month, and one at the end. So we want to be ready as we can be. And the only way that I feel, or maybe one of the ways that I feel that is very useful, is to understand our reality. Understand a little bit about the forces that are working with us, within us, right? And understanding how we can work with this vehicle called body. So in this particular reading, instead of trying to figure out what the other person is doing, the person of interest, or how they're going to behave, I want to see you. I want to go deeper into your subconscious mind and dig up a little bit some of the archetypes or the symbols that can describe what's going on there. Because our subconscious mind, Virgo, is an ocean that has a combination of different types of life force. Some of those life forces are based on things that we have yet to explore, and some are things that we already have. And, there are times where, the things that we already have, right? The conclusions that we made from past experiences that can become an obstacle for the opportunities that we're going to have in the future. So it's good to go a little bit deeper within and see what are the things or some of the things that are preventing you from finally attract the ideal person. A lot of times we get involved with people that we feel very attracted to and we think that are the one, and they end up being very different. And if it happens one time, Virgo, it's okay. Sometimes we make mistakes, which I don't believe in mistakes. But sometimes we make mistakes, which I don't believe in mistakes. Sometimes we could do it again and have a similar situation, even though it looked different, but the end result is similar. And we think, oh, well, my luck, I have a tendency sometimes to attract, the self-centered people. And, we start finding reasons and excuses to justify our challenges. But when we go down the path and now, it's one thing after the other, and it feels as if the situations are repeating itself, and then we have to come to terms and start asking ourselves, okay, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing that maybe not wrong, but that I am insisting in creating the same type of effect? All of our life experiences, Virgo, are there, one, to give us the opportunity to demonstrate what we know, the beliefs that we have, and how we're going to use them. And if the outcome is positive, great. But if it's not, and then we need to readjust something. We need to adjust something, and normally it's within. Okay? So what I did here was I decided to be very direct with numerology, which with, the numbers you can. I don't see myself as a fortune teller. I see myself as someone who has learned to translate archetypes or translate energy. And anybody can do this if you really, set your mind to it. And as creator of my own reality, I believe that, we have a lot of flexibility given that we're aware of the information that can help us, change things around. So I picked 3 cards of the Oracle numerology deck, and I use those numbers to choose the first 4 cards of the tarot, the regular tarot, from the major arcana. So I'm using the major arcanas, not the little ones, okay? I feel that the major arcana is able to contain, there are 22 cards altogether, Virgo, and within them you're able to find out a lot, right? Go deep within the subconscious mind and find out a lot. So to find out the issue that you're having, or some of it, right, of what's getting in the way, I am choosing first the 3 cards from numerology oracle, and then choosing from that the tarot. And then I asked the oracle to give us a solution, okay? I'm also using, of course, the totems, right? Animal medicine to help me also know where you guys are at, okay? And then astrology, just so that I could see what celestial forces are the most in tune with your energy right now. So hopefully by the time we're done, Virgo, it'll be a great reading. Okay. So the first card that I picked, Virgo, was 57. And it says teachings and learning. And this makes me feel like a lot of what's been happening in your life up to this point, there's been great lessons learned. And now you might be in that turning point where you can share those lessons and you can, teach it to others. Okay? Now, I added 5 plus 7, and that gives me 12, which is the energy of the hangman in tarot. And then I added 1 plus 2 equals 3, and it gave me the Empress. Okay? So these life lessons, the teaching and learning will be described, right, by these cards. The next card I chose came out was number 16, Rebirth. 1 plus 6 equals 7. To me, 7 is a very dynamic number. 7 days a week, to me, is the number of God. And in tarot happens to be the Chariot. And I feel like this is you trying to learn equilibrium, trying to learn balance. And it's funny because in some, I just need to say this, Virgo. Not until you're going through a rebirth, maybe a lot of you are, and this rebirth, if you've been able to gather your resources and finally have a better understanding of your lessons, it's all about helping you finally take charge of your life in a more harmonious way. And then the last card was the 81. 8 plus 1 is 9. I love 9 because 9 to me talks about transformation. It's the last essential number in numerology. 1 through 9 are the main numbers. After that, everything repeats itself. And it talks about leadership. And the card that comes representing the Knight in Tarot, Virgo, is the Hermit. It's your card. The card that represents you in Tarot. Very interesting. Okay, Virgo. So what is the problem? What is getting in the way? And according to the cards here, they talk about not feeling stable enough, capable enough to discern between what is good for you and what is not. So I would say that a lot of your struggles over time in your life, in relationship situations, had to do with your inability to know what's good for you and what's not. And a lot of this challenge has to do with the relationship that you had with your parents when you were little. With the energy of the Hangman and the Empress, it tells me that in many cases here, some of you had a very hard and conflictive relationship with the mother. I feel and sense that the mother had to compensate and be more of the father than the mother. I feel that in some cases you might have not had a father figure, either because he left when you were young, or maybe he didn't spend enough time, or he was absent emotionally, that your mother had to do the work of raising the kids and didn't spend enough time loving you, having the patience to work with you. Now, I'm not saying that your parents didn't love you. Maybe in some cases they didn't. But I believe that the mother brought issues of her own from her own childhood, and now it projected a lot of those challenges towards you, which made you feel unwanted, unloved. It didn't make you feel protected. And that's probably why in many moments you felt like your reality was always very shaky. Just like this man being hung by a leg, by a foot. So I feel like you had a quite turbulent relationship with the mother, and the mother was not able to provide the nourishment, the patience that sometimes is needed for a child to feel safe. And that, in long terms, became a problem, became an issue for you in your relationships. So your perceptions of your mother and your father were contaminated in a way, because the people that are supposed to guide you and love you and prepare you for life were not really there. And it's not that they didn't love you, it's just they didn't know how to love, because they themselves were struggling. And now you come into the picture with your own personality, your own dynamic, and it could have been very confrontational, especially for the mother. So the support and the energy that can provide the Empress was always, like the Hangman. And that could have been enough to make you struggle with life. And I would imagine that if the father was not there, right? Or he was, but not balancing this harmony that was created with the maternal energy, that for many of you, you had to kind of go on your own and learn how to work things out. And it's very different, Virgo, when you have been given, tools to prepare yourself, than when you have to go out there in the real world where there is so much chaos and learn for yourself, fence for yourself. So here I see that one of the ways you were able to cope was to isolate yourself. Maybe many of you felt that you were part of a family that you didn't belong. That sense of belonging was always missing. Maybe you wonder that you were put in the wrong family even. And that could have taken you through doors that might have been quite dark in the earlier years. It could have made you quite rebellious. And in that rebellion, Virgo, a lot of times we tend to make choices that long term can be quite a nightmare. But the one thing is that, we got to be truthful and sincere, and God is perfect and divine. And even in the darkest hour and in those moments where people call mistakes, we can learn a lot. I mean, some of us learn a lot. But we learn with struggles. And sometimes the struggles can become a lot bigger than the learning. And that could be a problem. So I see here that many of you have always been emotionally isolated. And this could be not just with your family, but could be also in your relationships. This can cause you to want to go out there and save people that might have been in the same situation that you were when you were a child. This could make you go after partners that you feel they need saving. And that, of course, long term can be a problem because, let's face it, Virgo, we can take a horse to the water, but we cannot make them drink it. And not everybody that is asking for help is ready to change. So I feel that with many of you, you've had to go through a lot to learn this. The price that some of you have had to pay to learn the value of balance, of harmony, or discernment has been quite high. But you're at a point, Virgo, that I feel is one of those moments where you're almost at the top of the mountain. Yet, even when we're getting closer to the mountain, we can always have an obstacle. What I mean by that is that no matter how well prepared you can be in life, or how much you know, obstacles are obstacles. They can always be there. And the way we decide to respond to those obstacles are going to determine how big or how little or how fast they're going to go away. In the last reading that I did, Virgo, I know I didn't do it in English, but I did it in Spanish. I saw that there was quite a few people that were going through a situation with someone that was not positive. And I felt that in some cases it was a new relationship, someone that you found that you felt very attracted, very compatible, and suddenly something changed that created a distance. For some of you, it could have been a relationship of 1.5 years or longer that all of a sudden the relationship is falling apart and now you're separating. But I felt like for some of you it was also something fresh. And, I felt like, well, here you guys, there are many Virgos that have been going through a lot of changes in the last few years where you've had to let go of a lot and cut away a lot of people that you've loved and, do a lot of readjustments because it's just part of life. It's part of growth. And I also feel that it's been nonstop. It's like out of all the signs, probably Virgo feels like, boy, the universe has it out on me. So I saw that here again, you find someone, right? And Virgos, it's hard sometimes for Virgos to find somebody they like, and you found somebody with potential, or you gave somebody that you loved another opportunity thinking that things were going to really work out again, and they didn't. And I thought, well, this reading, we're not going to ask about how the person that Virgo likes feels about Virgo. Let's ask about what is happening in Virgo's life that is getting in the way of maybe Virgo wanting to open the door to someone who initially feels very attractive and very compatible, and then later it goes sour. So what's going on in Virgo's reality, right? That, we can address to make Virgo aware. And I see here, Virgo, that, you're getting to that point of reaching the top, right? And when we reach the top of a mountain, Virgo, we're able to see from far away. And, with the medicine of the wolf, because the energy that is representing you in this reading is the wolf and the nightingale. With the wolf medicine here, it tells me that you already have sight. You already have a very keen intuition. But it's very different when you are still climbing a mountain than when you reach the top. And I feel like this situation that you've been having recently is one of those little things that sometimes can happen that, once you're almost there, right? Once you almost reach the goal, and it's all up to you whether you want to make this situation a big thing or a little thing. A lot of times we give a lot of attention or our power to someone because we tend to see them as something wonderful and unique. And we also tend to think that it's an opportunity that we may never get again. But it's just an idea. It's just a belief. And that belief can sometimes come, Virgo, from experiences that we have had or traumas in our childhood. It has a lot to do with the beliefs systems that our parents have given us, right? The foundation that were given to us as a child. And if our parents might have believed things that now we're using that didn't work for them, but they made it work, and now you're trying to work it out with them, but you're a different generation and things are changing, is not working, it could be quite problematic, right? I would say quite dramatic. So I feel that some of you have learned a lot. A lot of lessons have been learned here with the Virgo that I'm connecting with, because you come with this medicine, the wolf. And if you do not know what the medicine of the wolf, I encourage you to find it. Because the wolf talks about intuition. I mean, look at how this wolf is looking right straight at you. Not being afraid. Being aware of the danger, but being extremely cautious, but not running away. And I feel like a lot of you, Virgo, have that quality. Things can get pretty crazy around you, but you don't scare it easy. And with the nightingale here, I feel like many of you have learned to speak your truth. You're speaking from the heart and you're letting people know how you feel. You've gotten to that place where you're not afraid, and maybe even if you are, you're not stopping and you're not giving up. But the question is, do you trust yourself enough? Can you trust yourself enough? Can you trust your intuition enough without having to be validated or proof of what you're feeling? Depending on that answer, Virgo, the oracle here is suggesting to use the wolf medicine. Now, with the wolf medicine comes the energy of the moon. And we know that in full moons, wolves, right, the pack of wolves, they get quite agitated. quite excited. There's a connection there between the moon and the wolves that is very, very magical. And it just happens, Virgo, that I am doing this reading on a full moon day. And Spirit is saying, oh, Virgo, what a wonderful opportunity to connect with the energy of the moon and look at her beauty. Rely on her motherly instinct and face your fears. Face your subconscious mind or the unconscious and search for that thorn that is stopping you, that is causing you to feel unworthy, insecure, and incapable, so that you can heal it and move on. And if you could see, Virgo, it's interesting because when I look at the Hermit here, don't you notice that the back of this Hermit is towards the future? And here in this reading, there are 3 people that are interested in you. It could be more, it could be less, but here in the reading, 3 people came out. I don't have to be right, or it doesn't have to be perfect, but just know, or it could be that you're going to meet 3 people along this time, month of May, June. You already have. There are 3 people that have you in their mind. And these 3 characters, they have their own beauty, their own charm. But your back is against them. And you're looking at the Chariot. And this Chariot, Virgo, if you notice, it has the dark and the light. It has this lion body people that look from the Egyptian time. And normally this card talks about victory, movement, how we're moving in life, the directions that we take, and our ability to always harmonize the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the inner and the outer, our thoughts and our emotions. So the advice of the Oracle, the cards that came out, Virgo, is the Moon, hello, full moon, the Magician, and the High Priestess. And once again, we can see the energy of the feminine, the emphasis and the energy of the feminine. And if you notice in this deck, Virgo, the Moon, what does she have next to herself? I feel this is like the cosmic mother. She's connected to the cycles of the moon. She knows that life is about change, our emotions is about change, and there are moments where our emotions are full and there are moments where our emotions are depleted. We have a light side and we have a dark side. It's knowing all of it. And she has a wolf next to herself, 2 wolves. And in her hand she has the stick of feminine intuition. Isn't that a powerful thing? So I feel that this is an invitation, Virgo, to embrace your shadow side. Finally, to embrace the shadow side and accept that there are emotions within you or experiences in the past that has wounded you, especially with your mother. But the opportunity you're having here, my friends, is to make peace. You can let it go or carry it to the next cycle. And of course, you will not be surprised if the cycle repeats itself. I feel like many of you are ending a long needed cycle. And I always say that within this, changes, there's always, cycles, smaller cycles in it. But here, this is a big one. And with the configurations that we're having with certain planets, is what tells me that it's a big one. 2020 is going to be a big year for you. And maybe other people may be struggling, Virgo, but those of you who have decided to do the work so that you could grow and expand, this energy will carry you in a good, positive way. Of course, as long as you don't resist. So here, the tarot is saying, look, if you've been struggling, or if you've struggled with balance because you haven't been able to discern between what's right and what it isn't, because no one taught you, yes, you did a lot of things so that you could learn that. But now with all of that experience, you can turn it into something very positive. Here, the Magician. This is the first card of the major arcana. The Magician. The 0 card, Virgo, is the Mat, the Fool. And that's spirit energy in its purest form. And when that energy descends into this reality, it is given the energy of the Magician, the path of the Magician. And as you can see, this angel here has in his left hand the cup of the feminine, and on the right, the stick of the masculine. And what that is telling us is that everyone within themselves carry these two energies. And we have to constantly work with those two archetypes. In the meantime, the elements, we have to manipulate them. And the way that we turn vibration into matter is by how we can harmonize these two, right? Use the inspiration and creativity and nurture it. The elements of fire, water, and air mixed together materializes energy on earth. So if you really have come to be very clear of the lessons that you've learned up to this point, with this Magician here right now, you can do magic. Well, we always do magic, Virgo. So having the moon on your right side, and intuition on your left, or you could say having intuition on your right and the feminine on the left, right? Which is, we're talking about intuition and vision. The nurturing nature, right? Of the wisdom of the moon on your side, the two wolves, you're able to finally reach this, first the rebirth, right? Because the card that is talking about rebirth is your ability to master this, the Magician, the instruments that are given to each one of us. And with that rebirth, Virgo, you can move into a position of leadership. Comes with the number 9, the beginning, you know, the end of a cycle of the Hermit, where the Hermit moves towards the Wheel of Fortune. And if you notice in this Wheel of Fortune, Virgo, up there, there's a dragon. I think it's a dragon. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm going to call it a dragon. And this wheel, we can call it that it's the wheel of karma. It's always going around in circles. And it is not until we understand who we are, the good side and the bad side, that we're not able to overcome that wheel. And what happens is that we're constantly at the mercy of our emotions, at the mercy of the elements, at the mercy of the celestial forces. And we are creating our life experiences blindly. And instead of moving forward towards life with our arms open, we're doing this, running away from it, isolating ourselves from it. With the Hermit here, I feel like many of you have reached the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to do this. And the proof will be, Virgo, the Wheel of Fortune, right, which comes with the number 10, beginning of a new cycle. So here we have Hermit, the wisdom will allow you to face finally, right, this wheel. If that card would have been like that, Virgo, different. Very different reading, because that will tell me that you overcame already some of these obstacles, but you haven't. But once you can, or once you have, you will be able to also let go of the Wheel of Fortune, not in a bad way, meaning of this, you know, repetition, the repetition in your life. And here comes a test. Now, this is not a test that the universe is doing just for the sake of drive you crazy. This is a test that we always go through to demonstrate ourselves that we've learned something, right? You know, we first practice and then we test ourselves. This is, you know, like working with a recipe. You may do it the first time, it comes out kind of quite yucky, and then the more you do it, the better you get it. Well, with Gemini, you have 3 opportunities here of 3 people. And the next zodiac sign that we're going to enter is going to be Gemini. It's going to be what? Mid-May to mid-June. And we're talking about the twins. Duality. And you have people here that have very attractive resume, but not all of them are going to be good for you. And this is where you are going to decide, Virgo. And this time around, it's going to be based on somebody who has fully gained the knowledge to know how to empower her feminine energy, to be able to attract a partner that can support that. And for this, you guys, you don't have to be woman, okay? Men have the feminine as well, okay? So it applies for everyone. So whatever you do, whatever you decide to do, ultimately, if you don't know where you're at, whoever you choose, that person will going to help you see where you're at as far as your understanding goes with the feminine energy. Because I feel that a lot of us are trying to find the ideal partner. And it's not that you haven't met people that have had potential. The problem is long-term. Why is it that these people long-term change so much to the point that it's not what we've wanted? And now, once again, we feel isolated. Also, is the desire of wanting to save people that don't need saving. But you've been doing it because in the back of your mind, you've had these traumas in your childhood of living with parents that loved you but didn't show you how, or were not healthy in their love, and no one was there to save you. And now you want to save others in the way that nobody saved you. So the universe is saying, it's time to let that go. You have the opportunity for a new beginning. You have the opportunity to seek the love you desire and make it healthier. Somebody to meet you halfway, to construct a life based on cooperation and support. But we cannot, Virgo, find love until we love ourselves. Another thing that Spirit says is that, sometimes we have a very intense chemistry towards certain people, and we use that chemistry as the reason why we should do whatever it takes to be with that person. And we've even created this idea or concept of soulmate, twin soul, as if God cut the soul in half and sent them to a dimension with amnesia to go and search for their, soulmate, for their better half. When in reality, it's affinity. In the spirit world, there are families of spirits. And when we come to this reality, that intensity that sometimes you feel towards certain people is because you're family members in the spirit world, in the spiritual world. And what we don't stop to think is that just because you recognize each other, it doesn't mean that on earth that person has done the work in the same way that you have. And in many cases, we completely become attached and obsessed with certain people. They have to be the one for me. As if there's going to be no other opportunity for you out there, no better opportunity. But a lot of those beliefs comes when we feel unworthy. And I'm not saying here that all of you feel that way, but what I am suggesting here, this is a very thought-provoking reading, is to take time and see if there's some truth in this, especially for those of you who've been going through this amount of change or are having a very difficult time finally achieving this dream. I see here 3 people. One comes with a dragon, the other one with a bee. Dragon is a very spiritual person that pays attention to all details, and they may not tell you. Somebody who's very hard worker, works very hard, and they're keeping an eye on you from far away. You have then the vulture with the fox. People may say, oh, the fox, sneaky energy. Not always. As a matter of fact, this is an energy that could be very cooperative in relationships once they surrender. And the vulture is just basically telling me that this is someone who is going through a process of purification. They have had to work through some really toxic emotions here. And they are going through that change, so be careful. And then the other person is the turtle and the butterfly. So someone who could be very slow at moving, but yet very wise. And they have already gone through a spiritual transformation, Virgo, that now they're pretty free, very free-spirited, I feel like is this person. So as you can see, you have 3 choices that you can explore. Now, you got to keep in mind that as we're moving through this month, Virgo, on one hand, we have very rigorous planets situated and visiting places that are very positive for you. Saturn and Pluto are in Capricorn, which is your brother in astrology. And we know that Saturn and Pluto, gosh, we're talking about the father of time and karma, and we're talking about death, transformation with Pluto. On the other hand, Taurus, your other sister or brother, is being visited by Uranus. And Uranus is a planet of revolution. Don't be surprised if right now you're feeling like getting rid of your whole house, making a very drastic change, things that you've never done before, changing your wardrobe, maybe moving another part of the world. I mean, you may be having sort of this feeling of breaking loose from anything that has been imprisoning you. But with Venus, the god of love and money, you got to be careful because she's moving retrograde. And what that means, it's not that always retrograde is bad, Virgo. Sorry, I had to close the door. It doesn't mean that retrograde is always bad, but with Venus, it just means that we have to be extra careful because sometimes she can create filters of perceptions that are not very clear. So she's moving retrograde from May 13th till June 25th. And you guys can check this out with astrology. Remember, I'm not an astrologer. But there is a period of dark period, a month before the 13th and a month after the 25th, that still is being influenced by this movement. So during that time, one of the things that we have to be cautious with is to make drastic changes. You know, moving in with somebody that you hardly know, or with your finances, spending money that you may not have, or splurging, because after this period you can, regret it. To being careful with your possessions. I mean, there's a series of things that you need to take into account while this happens. But, if you want to know more, go to an astrologer. There's plenty on YouTube that you can listen to and find out more based on your sign. So as you can see, there's a lot going on in this month. And then in June, we have eclipse season. 3 eclipses in 1 month. And imagine, Virgo, if your life is upside down as we're moving towards those eclipses. Imagine if your emotions are out of whack. Because really what makes things really challenging for us is when our emotions are out of balance. When we feel that way, our whole reality is distorted. Perceptions are distorted. And normally those are the moments where we want to make a decision and we can't. We don't know how. And when we do, drama for sure. So, you have the opportunity, Virgo, of overcoming this. A lot of help you're getting this time around. And I hope that after you hear this video, well, it makes you more aware, my friend. I think this is all I have for you. And I really hope that things work out and that if for whatever reason you were feeling a little bit undecided or insecure or unsure, that now you know where to look. And when it comes to the relationship with the mother, I feel like one of the ways or an opportunity that you have is that maybe confront that energy. Talk to your mother or the person that raised you. Open up and say what you feel. And if you speak from your heart without resentment or anger, you'd be surprised. And then if you do feel the anger, I would say instead of releasing it with that person, wait until the night, tonight. I mean, there's still, like the full moon lasts about 3 or 4 days, and then wait until midnight and start crying like a wolf and release all of that. In this reading, it's telling me that the moon can be very healing time for you. And if you don't do it in this one, you could do it in the next one. There's always opportunities. Okay, Virgo, thank you so much for listening. I really wish you the best of luck. And hopefully I will see you soon.